but everything's under pressure. The advertising budgets are under pressure. The agencies are in trouble. The networks are in trouble. Everyone is looking into ways to monetize. This is one of those ways to monetize.
Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Marketing in the Madness. Now, do you know what I haven't done for ages is actually introduce myself. So if we haven't met before, my name is Katie Street. I am the host for Marketing in the Madness, but also the founder of a B2B marketing agency called Street Agency. And we do everything to make it fucking humans. I am going to swear, by the way, because I do swear a lot. And today I have a very special guest on the podcast with me, the fantastic Mar. Now, Mar and I have been trying to get this podcast in for a year and a half.
Approximately that much, yeah.
I would say. Mar, before we go into me asking you loads of questions about what's going on in the world of marketing, do you want to introduce yourself for our lovely listeners today?
Absolutely. So my name's Mar, and Duermeijer, which is a very Dutch name. I'm very Dutch, and it's a very difficult name. So I go by the name of Mar. And I live in Amsterdam. I work as Chief Content Officer for a company called Ryff in LA. We've got an office in LA, we've got an office in the UK, in London, and I'm the only one in Amsterdam. So in my role, I am responsible for the future of advertising for most of the people that are making content. And content can be anything. It can be social, it can be on TV, it can be fast channels, AVOD, SVOD, TVOD, PVOD, whatever. Wherever there's content, we can work with it.
So I wasn't aware of Ryff until I met you at MadFest. And obviously MadFest uncovers some, they're kind of, we have a collaboration with them for a reason. They're at the forefront of, again, the innovations that are happening in the world of marketing. And you guys were just everywhere. Your team were everywhere.
Yes.
You had like a van driving past. Like, tell me, so for those that don't know Ryff, and it's RYFF, and I will make sure, guys, all the links are in the show notes so that you can go and check it out. Tell us about what you do. Like, delve a bit deeper.
Yes.
Like if you're partnering with someone to get their digital content sorted, what is it that they're actually using you guys to do, and how does it work?
Yeah, absolutely, and thank you for that. We aren't even a big team, but it feels we're everywhere. I think we're a very energetic team. So what Ryff does, it actually uses new technologies to create something that's actually really, really old, which is product placement. So product placement has been around for 100 years, and who doesn't know a good piece of product placement? I wouldn't have known about Manola Blahnic if it wasn't for Friends, for Sex and the City, or, James Bond driving an Aston Martin. So the brands connecting with content that people love and go into content people love has always been there for over 100 years. Now, of course, a lot of times people are under pressure with the content. You can now see content traveling way more. It's globalizing, localizing again. We're getting Korean content. We're getting, getting Italian content. And also within a country, the content is moving much more around. So you've got the linear feed, you've got a fast channel, you've got everything. And so brands can be everywhere if they want to. And instead of committing to one thing, they can build entire campaigns. So what we do is we work with content owners. We build a technology. We take the content in. We scan the content using AI. And then we create something that's called smart content or scene intelligence. So we know exactly what's in a room or what's on the content. We know that there is maybe a kitchen, maybe there are people there, maybe there's a house, a parking lot. We know what's there. And then our second analysis is where's the opportunity? So can you place a billboard? Can you place a brand on the table? And what it allows for, and once we found that, you can offer that to brands, and the brands can choose where they want to go in. So what it allows is sort of a flexibility and scalability on both sides, and creativity, because you can target your demographics much better. You can say, oh, I'm going to do this on TikTok, but not on the linear channel because that's not where my audience is. Or you can say, from a content perspective, I'm already filming. I'm not going to wait for the brand money because I'll miss an opportunity, and I can fixing the talent now. So it allows for so much moving forward, so much flexibility for both teams.
Mark, so that means you can get me a sponsor for the podcast and we can intelligently, using your platform,
Yes.
superimpose this brand. I don't know what it is yet.
Yeah.
We should actually do that, actually.
Yeah,
we should do it. We should have a play. Maybe we'll make up our own brand.
And there can be like a big thing on the back of you, and it can be any brand you want.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's the difference is I often will still think of product placement only being, we see it more and more now with influencers, right? But we often still think about product placement being on TV or on a, well, not a commercial, because commercial in itself is product placement, but in a movie, whatever it might be, we're not necessarily, I think, wide enough yet in terms of our thought process with how you can, product place in different environments. And certainly, podcast is probably an up and coming place for that. There's going to be lots,
100%.
Lots of different ways that you can get your product out there. On that note, I'm interested. Where do you guys see, in terms of product placement, are there specific channels that you see as more successful than others in terms of return on investment for the people that are using you guys?
No, not really. We see an interest. Of course, it's a super new technology. And when you've got a new technology, you need to evangelize a lot. So you need to make people feel comfortable using it. There's a scary word called AI. So people need to understand what the AI does. And with us, it only understands where it sits, where the opportunity is, and what you can do. The other thing, what we see is it really needs to grow on people, but most people get it. They're still searching a little bit. How can I do it? How can I combine it? But the first studies came out already. And think about this, especially with the different pieces of content. If you would combine, so people, if they see something a lot of times, it sticks with them. Not too much, not too little. But if they see it just enough, it sticks with them. They recognize it. So think about, you've got a pre-roll of a certain brand. You've got that brand on the table or on a billboard inside the content. And you've got a mid-roll with that brand again. And what will happen is people will recognize it. And because they recognize it, because they see it returning and returning and returning, they will be more likely to buy it. And so we see there's like a 7 times purchase intent when it returns and returns. And again, not too often, but you need to have a return. So when we see are certain channels monetizing or are certain brands monetizing more? No, not at the moment. Most people are exploring what it can do for you. We need way more measurement to really see the difference and the impact it can have. But again, I used to be responsible in a previous role for MasterChef globally. And one of the brands on the format side, and the Australian version traveled to 144 countries, but we only monetized on the product placement once in Australia. And that's silly. You could do that 50 times. You could do it 100 times. You could do it 5 times in the same country. You could run campaigns of 3 months, take it out, replace it with something else. And think about the sustainability of it as well. You don't have to ship things to set. You don't have to throw all the food away. You don't have to, because that's what you need to do. You need to do that after you filmed a show, which is ridiculous, especially in today's world.
Yeah, I mean, it does make things a lot more efficient if you actually start to break it down. Product placement and, those brands being able to show up 7 times, which might be, physically quite hard in this new world. It makes it a lot easier. It enables us to do more with less and utilize AI in a smart way that's actually, benefiting humanity as well as the ad campaigns, right?
Yeah. Definitely. No, I think it's got a huge advantage for a lot of people. And what we always say, again, it's the flexibility and the scalability. It's up to the creativity, what you want to do with it. Do you want to promote your channel? Do you want to do a collaboration or a partnership? Do you want to emphasize on for instance, Eastern or Christmas, do you want to hide Easter eggs within your content? You can make a total gamification out of it. So it's up to the creativity what you want to do with it. But the fact is there's 2 layers of the technology. One, finding opportunity or creating opportunity. Second, placing it in.
Yeah, I love that. Well, on that, talking about creativity, what is one of your favorite, most creative campaigns? Have you got any that you really love that you've seen like over the past, I guess, few years whilst you've been at Ryff? I know going back, of course, Aston Martin, definitely, the whole James Bond thing. I'm so with you on that. And the same with Manolo Blahnik. I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but anyway, whatever.
No, it doesn't matter.
But Sex and the City.
Yeah,
those, I love those brands because I have an affinity with them because, probably Manolo Blahnik more because I love Sex and the City. I'm like obsessed with Carrie. But, I'm interested. I want to know who the brands are, and, I want to go and engage with them because I have an affinity with the show. So talking about that in the more modern world where social media, and influencers and, things have changed a little bit. What campaigns have you seen over the past few years that have really, I guess, struck a chord and, delivered great results?
I think there's so many campaigns. I think what is really, really strikes me all the time is when people can grow a brand, like they give brand an identity. That's when I think you've done a great job, like Red Bull does, like Nike does. It's a community instead of offering a brand. And I think if you can create a community with people and have an identity for a brand, then you're on a good track, of course. And you can use what we do is just an add-on, it's a great add-on, but it's an add-on to what you can do with your brand to grow it. And to your point of, an Aston Martin, no, we are not as powerful as driving a car or George Clooney lifting a cup of an espresso and saying, this is the best coffee. That's not what we do. But what we do is put the brands where the audience is. And you touched upon it, because you need to build the bridge between brand affinity and content affinity. The people, you could put a brand in a piece of content, but if none of the people that watch the content will buy the brand, it's a waste of time and money. And the other way around as well. So the match needs to be good. It's like a dating app. You need to match make in a certain way. And the technology today can help you do that. They contextually can find situations that the brand will fit contextually perfect into the scene. If you look at an old show, I think most people have seen The Goonies. You're not going to put a Louis Vuitton bag in The Goonies. You're going to put Cheerios in The Goonies. And the other way around. When you've got a $1 million listing house, you're not going to put a jar of Nutella in the kitchen when everything is spotless clean. So it just needs to fit. And I think that fit you can create using all the technology. And I think we're only in the first steps of the technology. This goes way further. In 5 or 10 years' time, you can do this programmatically, even sooner. You can do this programmatically, but the most important thing is that you are on target, because if you put your brand in the wrong piece of material, it works against you instead of in your favor.
Well, going back to how I started the podcast, and I love this, by the way. Now, I talk about make it fucking human and things being real, because we are moving to a place where AI and, personalization to a certain extent, but AI, what is real and what isn't real is going to become harder and harder for us to tell over the next, and I know this is kind of what your platform's doing, but how do I know when something is real, when it's not real? How do I engage with it? What do you think that means for you guys in the future of Ryff? Do you think, are people going to be not scared, but distrusting when content is not real? It's hard, isn't it? Someone could have a can of drink and we can superimpose and change it to a different can of drink. How, as consumers, do you think because of AI, there's going to be some there will be, right? There will be distrust.
You
But how do you
always
manage
have
that?
those people, but I think you need to look at it. You should look at solutions like this as an enabler and not as a threat. Because at the end of the day, do you really care if there's a fake or a real bag of chips and crisps or a real bottle on the table or not? Do you really care?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think it creates an opportunity for people to do something, but also I don't know if you follow the stories a lot, but everything's under pressure. No one hits the advertising budgets are under pressure. The agencies are in trouble. The networks are in trouble. Everyone is looking into ways to monetize. This is one of those ways to monetize. When I started my career a long time ago, there was nothing like this. It was, you sold a TV format for 7 to 10 years, or a series, and then it might travel, it might move on. Now you've got so many opportunities, and there's so much more advertising money needed, and people are advertising much more. And so I would say, should you really care if the bottle is real or not real? You can look at it many different ways. And what if it is real?
Yeah. I think that what you guys are doing isn't so scary, right? Because it's product placement. It's the changing what someone's saying.
But that's a
scary.
whole different.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you go and look at, is it ethical?
Yeah.
What we are doing.
Yeah.
Can we do that? Can we put a voice to someone that has passed away? Or can we even put a voice to someone that doesn't realize that that doesn't know this, that will harm their, no, I wouldn't agree with that. But that's far from what we are doing.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think
far away.
Yeah,
we just give an opportunity to the market to go there where they want to go.
Yeah, which feels nice.
And also, we talk about opportunity, but on the other hand, it's got also a safety element to it. Say something happens with the talent, and you touched upon the influencers. Some of the influencers are becoming ridiculous people after a certain amount of time. Do you want your brand associated with that? No. So you can take your brand out.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. I'd never really thought about it the other way round, that you're able to remove yourself from situations, like you say.
Or the brand does something.
Yeah.
Do you want the series to go that?
Yeah.
No. You can take the brand out.
Yeah. That's where it becomes quite interesting, because it means, this is a very basic version of it, but when I have a team and staff change, they may not want to be on my website anymore, in our marketing collateral anymore. And I'm like, oh gosh, I can't use any of those images anymore. But I think that's where life's getting quite interesting, right? Is actually we'll be able to edit that moving forward and edit it with technology, with very easily. Anyone's going to be able to do it. It's making life easier, and like you say, it saves me getting another photographer in and having to reshoot everything. It's just making it a lot easier for us to adjust to the environment that we need to adjust it to. And I think having that kind of play on sustainability, on the amount of time, money, effort that we're having to I guess put into these projects, especially like you say, when the world is really, really tough. I think that again becomes very, very interesting.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's many more layers you can touch up, what it can and what it can't do. When you say, the safety, we spoke about the safety, we spoke about but you can completely cut it any way you want it.
Yeah. And also I guess that's down to you guys as a brand, right? As Ryff, how ethical are you? You guys know what's right and wrong, and you'll do, I assume, the right things and the things that you guys stand behind as a business.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, we're a technology partner and we're an enabler. And so we are not making the decisions. The content partners say, we want to do this. And the brand partners say, we want to do this. And then we marry them together. And there are restrictions. People say, we don't want this. We do want this. We can't have this, we can do that. We won't support this, we will support that. And the brand would do the same. You're not going to put an alcohol brand when people are driving, when there are children around. So there's content and brands that don't match together. The only thing we do is help them speed that up. We can turn things around in 24 to 48 hours for people. A week maybe, when normally people would sometimes film things twice. Because think about all the local regulations. We're here in the UK. Think about the Ofcom regulations. You know, you can't have fat, sugar, you can't have alcohol, you can't have, but you still can have it on the socials. You can still have things on the digital channels. So you can play with it. You can play where you can be and where you can't be until the rules change. So on that note, we don't judge, but we give an opportunity for people to come to the best solution or to come to the best match on what they want to achieve.
Yeah, I mean, localization, which tends to be a huge investment. You know, if you think about big brands, you know, they've got to localize their currency in different markets. They've got to localize their content in different markets. They've got to, you know, there's so much, you know, even just, you know, localizing the language is huge. But actually this enables you, you know, if you've got, and lots of brands look different in different countries, right? So this enables you to develop something once, but repurpose it in a much more, in a kind of more organic way, right?
Yeah, and you can reuse things. So you can look at a Goonies or an E.T. or anything else. You know, the Reese's Pieces in E.T. were amazing, but you can rebrand that and you can use it again. And I always say, I think the holidays are a good thing because we always watch the same movies around the holidays, you know, generation after generation after generation. All the young kids now are watching Home Alone again. So think about it, you can all of a sudden you could put a brand into Home Alone that wasn't there before. And you still know it will attract an audience. And you can still monetize on an archived piece of material. Of course, you can work with the premieres, but you can also work with very old shows. Not too old, but yeah.
Yeah, I love the opportunities that brands have. Also to sort of take the mickey, and I'm thinking of Home Alone now where he's like slapping on the aftershave that, I don't know, Harry's or one of the brands, you know, you can do some really, and they probably have, you can do some really fun, playful things. I think that that people almost know is fake, right? Because we've seen Home Alone and like you say, it's been around for a long time. So, you know, I think there's some playfulness that also people can have with this. Like, we know it's fake, but let's make it fun or funny because then people can engage with it better. You know, there's so much, I think there's so much. Look, there are some things that are going to be scary, but there's so much opportunity, I think, when it comes to this.
Yeah, and it's different. You will create a buzz. If you would put a fairly new brand into a piece of content that's older, you actually create a buzz. There are whole websites made on things that went wrong. You know, Spider-Man walking the wall with his t-shirt hanging down, a product placement being put in wrongly that you could see it. And it goes viral. Think about Game of Thrones and the Starbucks cup. Who doesn't know about it? But it created a tremendous amount of value for the brand. So don't do it too often, but you can do it. Or think about difficult brands. Think about dating apps. Where do you put a dating app? In a piece of content. People can't really talk about it, you know. If it's a love affair, you can't say halfway through, oh, you know, we know each other because of this dating app. Or, you know, you can't put it on the table. You can't put a flyer on the table or a cup on the table or anything with the app on it. But what you can do is try to create a billboard solution, like an out-of-home, in-scene solution where you would say every time a person hugs, we put a billboard in the background on a building that was never there with the image of with the advertising of the dating app. And that is a possibility. People then connect affection with the dating app.
Yeah, which is hard to do because no one really wants to use a dating app. I certainly don't anyway.
I don't know. I've been away too long.
Yeah. I mean, me too. Thank God. Well, no, I'm not. I'm single, but I just don't really like using dating apps. So I get the tension between humans and
anything
dating
else
apps.
as well. Insurance companies, credit card companies have a more difficult way to go into content.
Yeah, of course, because it's not so easy. It's not, and also it's not necessarily always. Well, you can have a physical credit card, can't you? But it's not always such a physical thing. These are things that now live and breathe on our phones, and it's becoming more and more that way.
Yeah.
Mar, before we move on to our favorite piece of content, which is going to be next week's episode, guys, which is going to be all around female leadership, which is kind of how we connected at MadFest a year and a half ago. Have you got any case studies? Like, I don't know if you're allowed to tell me about this. So if you're not, we can cut this and you can say no, Katie.
No, I don't. No.
Like current case studies or like real world implementations of your technology that you're allowed to talk about.
Yes. There's a lot we can't talk about.
I know. That's why I'm asking.
Well, we've got one partner who's always very collaborative with us, and I know I need to check if we can talk about it.
Talk about it, and then if not, guys, sorry, there'll be and you won't get to hear this bit. But talk about it, and then if I need to cut it, we will.
We've done quite a lot on World of Love Island because they're very limited on the channels because they're so overly heavily sponsored, but they're doing amazingly well on their socials. They got such high numbers. So we're privileged to work with them and put brands into their content. So if you look carefully, then there might be one or two brands that you haven't recognized in the real show on telly, but that are on the socials. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm going to have a look out for that. I have a thing on that in a real life, I think it was real life product placement. You're going to be able to tell me if it wasn't, that they had a sunglasses sponsor for quite a few years. Do you remember? Oh no. Yes.
Yes.
They had, I can't remember, certainly on the UK.
If they're wearing, then definitely it's real product placement because we don't do the interactive things.
Yes.
So we don't do, when there's interruption at this stage, we don't do that. We don't put sunglasses on. We really are looking at things that have not too much interruption.
Yeah. See, I noticed that because I am a bit of a sunglasses addict. I have way too many pairs of sunglasses, like ridiculous. My daughter's like, Mum, stop buying sunglasses.
They did have a sunglass.
Yeah, they had a sunglass sponsor, and then they stopped. So and I was noticed the last two, and I was actually quite happy about that because I was like, oh yeah, now I can I'm more interested in the sunglasses now because they've all got different ones on. Anyway, Mar, thank you so much for joining. It's definitely changed my view on what's possible with AI and product placement. And actually made me start to think about it more, from the podcast and the social media aspect. So a huge thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
No, you're coming back. Well, we're not coming back. So guys, we are ending this episode now. If you did enjoy today's episode, please go and check out Ryff. Also, obviously connect with Mar. I'll put all the links that you need in the show notes. We're going to stay here now because we're going to be back next week. If you're interested in female leadership and women getting ahead at work, me and Mar, I know, I feel like this is such a cheesy thing, but I'm going to say it. Me and Mar are going to riff about how women can get ahead at work next. So if that's something that you're passionate about, as I hope you are, because there's still a lot of work to do, then do come back and join us next week.